exec, el exec, el exec. El Vélez, el Vélez, el Vélez. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? How we doing? Episode 80 of the Exec Talk with your host here, Elvalez. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notifications whenever we post. Or I post. I'm the one that runs the account. I appreciate all the support and everything. Big episode. Today, NBA trade deadline just finished up at 3. That's why I waited to do this episode till today, because I wanted to keep you all informed about everything that had happened during the trade deadline NBA wise. And we will break down the Super Bowl. We'll give you my pick, and we'll dive completely deep head into that heading into the weekend. Now, as for trade rumors and trade deadlines and everything we've talked about for the last, week, because it hadn't really kicked off. I mean, when we think about the trade deadline, you know, we thought that it would be, crazy. We thought it would be nuts. We thought that would like big people were going to move, Zach LaVine and everything like that. But then he got hurt, and that really kind of shut down the trade market. But the last 2 days they've gotten cooking, crazy. And there's been some movement that I didn't foresee. One of the movements that we, starting off, remember we said the Memphis Grizzlies had sent Steven Adams to, to the Rockets for, 3 second-round picks. Well, in that deal was Victor Oladipo. And Victor Oladipo is, hurt and, hasn't been able to get back to his normal, his normal way that he used to be in Indiana. And when he got drafted out of Indiana, went to the Magic. He could never rekindle that because of his quads and his hamstrings. So I think he's getting waived. I think that they're waiving him, the Memphis Grizzlies, and they're just keeping the 3 second-round picks. So we talk about that one. The next one we're going to talk about, the Detroit Pistons send Kevin Knox 2 2024 second-round pick, one 2024 second-round pick, and the draft rights to Gabriel Procida. I'm guessing that's a draft pick that they just took this past draft and was probably in their G League system or something like that. So Kevin Knox goes to the Utah Jazz for Simone Fontecchio, 3-point shooter, guy that can stretch out the floor. Kind of something Detroit needs, to be honest, to be a better shooting team. But does this help? That's what we're asking here. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, Josh, on a scale of 1 to 10, Velez, how much does this trade actually matter? And if I were to be an honest man with you guys, this doesn't do nothing. Okay, this is not something to cause headlines about. This is a ticker thing, one time on the bottom of your screen, just a little notification. Hey, trade. That's it. Bird in the background. I live in a jungle. But it's not gonna do anything for him. Yeah, he's a good scorer. He can shoot threes. He's at like a 39-40% clip. So he can stretch out the floor, but Detroit ain't going nowhere. I mean, they're the worst team in the NBA. So, for Kevin Knox, Utah, more size inside. He definitely showed that he could hit the 3 this year. I'm not sure if they're gonna use that. But definitely more size inside at the 4 position. Gives you a little bit more lineup versatility for Monty Williams. So we'll see how they use him. The next one also involves the Memphis Grizzlies. Xavier Tillman. Yeah, I think they're starting 4-man, if I'm not mistaken. If not, that's Vince Williams Jr. But the guy who was basically starting as their 5, as their center, when Steven Adams and Brandon Clark went down, he's going to the Boston Celtics. For Grizzlies get Lamar Stevens, a 2027 second-round pick, via Atlanta and a 2030 second round pick via Dallas. These picks are way out there. We're in 2024. So when these picks come around and become valuable, it'll be way later in the future. Now, Atlanta, that would probably be a high pick because they suck, but they're mid, so it won't be the highest of the high. Dallas might win a championship in the next few years with Luka, or they can just tank, and lose Luka. So it's going to be interesting. But like I said, 2027, 2030, it's a long way away. Lamar Stevens, good young player. Will he help? He'll help. It's not like he won't. But, I think Xavier Tillman here is the piece to the Boston Celtics. Add a little bit more bench depth, a little bit more size at the 4, a guy that can really bang inside. Not the biggest as in tall, but, plays bigger than he is. Good, savvy inside scorer, can get offensive rebounds and stuff like that. So I think that overall is a good trade. It's a good trade for Boston. Memphis ain't going nowhere. Not this year. So, don't got to worry about that. Minnesota, speaking of another top team searching for something extra. Minnesota trades for Monte Morris, sends Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., and a 2030 second round pick to the Detroit Pistons. All right, this is what we're going to break down here. Monte Morris, what is he going to bring? Bench scoring is what he's going to bring. Okay, he's going to be probably the guy that goes in for a Mike Conley. They have McLaughlin, but are they going to play McLaughlin and him at the same time? Or will McLaughlin be the 1 and he play 2 while Nikhil Alexander Walker plays 3, and then with a lineup of maybe Naz Reid and Kyle Anderson at your 4? That's a small lineup, but I gotta give it a little bit of props. Get some more shooting on that team. You needed it. If there's anything that you really struggle with is bench scoring on that team. When Anthony Edwards goes out or Cat goes out, there's really not, even with McDaniels, and he doesn't take the reins offensively. So you need somebody that, is a legit shooter, scorer, can get you a bucket if you need one in the mid-range, in the 3, can play make a little bit, just a solid bench piece for your depth in order to go on this championship run. For Detroit, they got Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr. Shake could be a little scorer here and there coming off the bench. Troy Brown Jr., he could rebound. I think he could shoot a little bit. But if I remember correctly, when he was with the Lakers, he could not. So, and then the 2030 second round pick, that doesn't matter. But Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., Detroit looks like they're just kind of just emptying the tank. Like I said, they should. Bojan Bogdanovic, all the players that they really don't need for the rebuild. That's currently ongoing. But it's good for the Timberwolves to go after a guy like Monte Morris, little bench scorer there, to add to the package that they have already, trying to go into the playoffs. This is a big one for me because it has one of the biggest names that I have followed since college. And, I saw him win a championship at Kansas and everything, and I thought that he should be more of a focal point in the Utah offense, and that's Ochai Agbaji. He's going to the Toronto Raptors, him and Kelly Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk is really interesting for KO to be sent over there. But when you look at the package that they got, I guess it's okay. Ochai should become their leading scorer right off the bat. It should be him and Scotty Barnes. I think Ochai is better than RJ Barrett. As a scorer, as a three-point shooter, definitely. He'll stretch the floor. He'll play defense. He's long, athletic. I think that he should be starting coming, for that Toronto team. Kelly Olynyk, I don't know if they're going to use him at center. They have Pirtle. They can use him as a 4. He can stretch out the floor as well. So, I guess it's good for the Toronto Raptors trying to get. Kelly Olynyk is not necessarily getting younger, but Ochai Agbaji, being like the 24-year-old, 23-year-old that he is, I think that definitely gives you some time. And if he develops into what he's supposed to be, scorer, slasher, good defender, then you have something there with him and Scotty Barnes. Utah, in return, gets Otto Porter Jr. And Kyra Lewis Jr. by way of, he used to be at, I believe he used to be in the Pelicans. If not, that's Kyren Lewis. And they have two similar names, which would throw me off. But I believe Kyra Lewis was the one that was with the Pelicans last year. And they also get, which I think this is the big part that they wanted, 2024, so this year, first-round pick, least favorable of OKC, the Clippers, and Houston, if 5-30 and Utah 11-30. Okay, I don't know what that that means the picks that they land in, whether it's from the 5th pick to the 30th pick or Utah 11th to 30th. Okay, interesting. Listen, I think that this is a win for the Raptors because of Ochai Agbaji. I mean, if I'm looking at this trade and I'm looking at a player that will actually make a difference, is Ochai Agbaji. He's young. He has time to develop. I don't expect him not to try to flourish there. I mean, his shot is nice. He's shooting like 39% from 3. He can score. Like, if you give him the ball, he can score. So I think that would be the ideal situation for him to try to, turn his career into something that is fruitful, instead of, coming off the bench most of the time or not playing at all for the Jazz this season. Between two contenders, we have a particular trade that I was expecting. Didn't expect the team, but when I see it, it makes a lot of sense given the circumstances right now with that team. And that team is the 76ers. The 76ers get Buddy Hield from the Indiana Pacers, so they're direct rival in the standings, for Marcus Morris Sr. and Korkmaz. Furkan Korkmaz, the 3-point shooter, and 3 second-round picks. What is big about this is that Buddy Hield can alleviate, I won't say replace because it's not possible, alleviate the pressure. One would say Maxey, but Maxey still has to go bonkers. Like, Maxey still has to be on demon time for them to win. But it alleviates more off Tobias Harris's and Kelly Oubre's plate to score. And I think since he's such a prolific 3-point shooter, it stretches out the floor enough so that it gives Maxey and Tobias more room to work. This is all encompassing that they don't have Joel Embiid and they needed more scoring. They just lost to the Golden State Warriors yesterday. I mean, the Golden State Warriors looked good. Curry didn't have a good game at all, and Wiggins and Kuminga kind of took that game over. But, and Clay, thank God. But for them to contend, for not even contend, this is to stay alive in the Eastern Conference. This move is to stay alive. They're 5th right now. And it's not looking good when you look at them on the floor without Joel Embiid. Like, Maxey can't carry all the offensive weight along with Tobias Harris and then a little bit from Kelly Oubre and KJ Martin and Paul Reed. Like, that's not how it's going to work. So they brought in Buddy Hield. I think Buddy Hield will try to be his 20-a-game self that he used to be in Indiana when he was scoring almost 24, or when he was with the Kings, that he was scoring like 20. I think that's the ceiling he has to get to, because I think he's going to start at the 2 guard. He should. Him and Maxey, although not a good defensive lineup, gives you enough on the offensive end to be at least formidable spacing-wise, and giving Tobias Harris a little bit more room, and giving Kelly Oubre coming off the bench as a good 6-man a little bit more room. So I think it's a good pickup for the 76ers. For Indiana, getting Marcus Morris Sr., big body, can score if you need him to score. Good defense, 6 fouls, tough guy, culture setter, good. Korkmaz gonna shoot threes, and he fits in right with that team to be a floor spacer. One that hasn't figured itself out yet. Sixers trade Daniel House Jr., so one of their bench players, young bench players, for to Detroit. So Detroit gets Daniel House Jr. and a 2024 second round pick via the Knicks, and the 76ers get TBD, hasn't been announced yet. But this for the Sixers, this was to duck that apron luxury tax wall. That second one that you get penalized draft picks and everything that just got put in. Yeah, I think this is to duck that. Because you get that money off the books for Daniel House Jr. and you get above the cap line, which is smart for them monetarily, because if they're trying to build a championship team and they believe that they're that close, you don't want to have anything kind of limiting you if you need to go out there and go get a piece for something. The next trade is and Daniel House Jr., I think he's coming off the bench. If not, he's going to get DMPs on that team for Detroit. I'm not sure, to be honest. Okay, so another move that people were kind of seeing for the last 2 years, but it never happened because it didn't. The Thunder, oddly enough, so a young team, add Gordon Hayward, a veteran, and send Charlotte Trey Mann, Vasily Micic, and Davis Bertans, and draft compensation. Now, for Charlotte, you aren't going anywhere. You've seen that you're not going anywhere. You lost yesterday, and Miles Bridges scored 45, and you lost after having a lead. Okay? So, sending Gordon Hayward, he wasn't playing anyway. Just like Terry Rozier, send him out. He's one of the old guard. Send him out. Send him to OKC, where he can possibly, run a couple of years and maybe get a championship. Lead that young group. Not lead them, because Shea's leading them, but be another savvy vet in there that they don't have many. And then for Charlotte, you got a scorer in Trey Mann. You get, I believe Micic was the. No, I don't want to misspeak. I don't want to misspeak. I thought Micic was the EuroLeague MVP, but he might be with the Kings. And then Davis Bertans, another 3-point shooter with size. Is this going to help the Hornets right now? Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Absolutely not. You're not doing nothing with this trade right here. What you're doing is getting Gordon Hayward and his contract off and getting even younger. That's all you can do. You're not doing anything. That's what it is. Gordon Hayward, I think it will add a good bench presence to the second group. A guy that can run with J-Dub. A guy that can run with J. Will. Giddey. You could put him out there with Shea. You could put him out with Chet, and I think he'll fit in anywhere, Isaiah Joe, and stuff like that. So, that's a package, though. That means that you had so much to give that you were like, oh, here's 3 players and draft compensation. Mavericks and Wizards. Now, Mavericks needed to do this. And the fact that they got this guy, hey, if this guy plays exactly like he played with the Wizards, or even better, they could have something on their hands, because now they have Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. And for you guys that don't know, Daniel Gafford was the center for the Wizards for the last few years. Super athletic, gets boards, physical, good defender, rim protector. Really, really good player, like really good defensive player, can get you a lob just like Derek Lively. I think that this is a move that people are not mentioning now, but in the playoffs, we might see the fruits of this trade. And who they gave up? Richaun Holmes, somebody off their bench. Nothing crazy. Richaun Holmes and draft compensation. Let me get Daniel Gafford. He probably wanted to get out of there. He knew that they weren't winning, nothing. So, he wanted to get out of there. And you send him to a place where if he plays exactly how he was playing with the Wizards, they're going to win. They can win a championship if Daniel Gafford plays to the standard that he was and even higher. With Luka, a better passer than he had in the Wizards with Jordan Poole. I mean, he had Tyus Jones, which is a good point guard. But you know, you got Luka, arguably the second best passer in the NBA because of Jokic or LeBron, if you want to put him up there as well. So, but I think the best passers in the NBA are, you know, yeah, Tyrese now, but like, you know, established. I think it's, you know, Jokic, Luka, LeBron, or whatever order you want, but Jokic is at the top for me. But, you know, just to give up Rashawn Holmes and some draft compensation, absolutely give me Daniel Gafford and let me pair him up with Derek Lively. Then I had 2 rim protectors. Gafford is a little bit older, not a lot. He's in his 20s. He's still in his young 20s, so he can teach Derek Lively a few things and everything like that, and vice versa. I think it's going to be very fruitful for the Dallas Mavericks getting that pickup. I think we're going to see that in the playoffs rear its head. Knicks and Pistons. Pistons, hey, we knew that it was coming. The dump. We knew the dump was coming. It finally came. Knicks, jump on it. Pistons, 6-year deal. 6-player deal, which is insane. But, you know, New York Knicks get Bojan Bogdanovic, 3-point shooter, shot creator, can play within an offense. Doesn't have to be the man. Now he could be, you know, now that Julius Randle's down, he could be the number 2. You know, he could be the number 2 along with DiVincenzo, an OG. He can come off the bench and he could be that super hyper scorer off the bench, that 6-man role. But I think he should start. I mean, you could get him off the bench if you want. They have a good roster. And then you get Alec Burks, another person stretching the floor. Another person that could shoot the 3. Another person that could create his own shot. And adding all that into the Knicks bag right now, I think is good because that will take less pressure and attention on the offensive end for the defense to worry about off of Jalen Brunson. If you take pressure off of Jalen Brunson, he can cook easier and still be a dog on the defensive end because he's a pit bull on the defensive end. Like, it's not like he's a cone. You know, we're not talking about Trae Young out here. You know, he's sturdy. But I think it'd be very scary for Bojan and Alec Burks to that the Knicks got him. Very scary. Now, who do the Pistons get? Evan Fournier, not going to play. Malachi Flynn, young player. Quentin Grimes probably will start. And Ryan Arcidiacono, which I saw him in college. I believe he went to Villanova with Brunson, with Miles Bridges, with Mikhail, with Josh Hart. I believe he was part of one of those championships, if I'm not mistaken. If not, he went to Gonzaga. But I think he went to Villanova, if I remember correctly. But he's probably going to come off the bench, or they're going to waive him or send him to the G League or something like that. But I think Malachi Flynn and especially Quentin Grimes, that's another guy, can stretch the floor, maybe get his own shot, develop a little bit. You know, so I think, but he might come off the bench too, Quentin, because they have Cade, they have Jaden. But we'll see what Monty does. Next trade. Raptors get Spencer Dinwiddie from Brooklyn, and they get Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young. So Brooklyn gets Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young, a point guard. If you're going to send a guard, get a guard. So they got a Dennis Schroeder. He's been playing okay this year. He just came off basically the World Cup MVP of the basketball World Cup, the FIBA World Cup with Germany. Thaddeus Young has been playing well, good minutes for them, veteran, big guy, can play at the 4 spot, kind of like a Paul Millsap, if you guys remember. I know that might be old for you guys, but, you know, kind of like a Paul Millsap guy. Get rebounds, can score. Actually, I believe he's heading back to the Nets because he used to play at the Nets, if I'm not mistaken, when D'Lo was there. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's going back to the Nets for a second time. But, you know, Toronto gets Spencer Dinwiddie, but we're going to find out that Spencer Dinwiddie is actually getting waived, and there's going to be a lot of suitors for him on the market. Miami. Hey. Miami, Spencer Dinwiddie's out there. You know what that is? That's a scorer. Not just a scorer. Shot creator. I would look into that. I'm just saying. I would look into that. And if you don't, I'm laughing at you. You guys are a laughing stock. You say you want to score. One's out there, and you don't go get them. Dennis Schroeder would be good for the Nets. Will he start? Yeah, I think he'll start. Thaddeus Young, maybe. Probably not. Probably coming off the bench. Mavericks, again, go after another big guy that can add pressure on the rim. PJ Washington from Charlotte going to the Mavericks. What do Charlotte get? Now, I'm kind of iffy on this, but since PJ's young and athletic and still explosive and everything like that in his 20s, former Kentucky Wildcat, I think that this is okay. But they gave up Grant Williams, good three-point shooter, good defensive guard, even though he hasn't been showing it this year at all, not how he did in Boston. And then Seth Curry, a very good shooter, basically going to his home team because his dad is the announcer. Del Curry is the color announcer for the Charlotte Hornets. So it'd be nice, I guess, to play in front of dad and a 2027 first-round pick. Don't got to worry about that for a couple of years. So I think Seth Curry going back home, will he be a scorer? Will they look for him to be a scorer? We'll see. But, overall, he's a great shooter. And I think that he will have a little bit more of a role on this Charlotte's team that ain't going nowhere. So maybe they can try something with him. But we'll see. But P.J. Washington for Dallas Mavericks, another big forward. So you can pair him up with Gafford. You can pair him up with Lively. More size in the middle. Giving Luka interior presence on the defensive side of the ball and rebounding is all you guys needed. You can have an interior presence in the inside. Now you have three: P.J. Washington, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford for the offensive end, whether that's lobs, whether that's offensive rebounding, dunker spot. Now you have three. But the big thing about these three guys is that they can all protect the rim. Gafford can protect the rim really well. Lively's a rookie. He'll get there, but he already has the defensive instincts to do so and has shown it a little bit this year in flashes. And PJ is an athletic freak that can jump out the gym and block shots and defend at a good level. And I think that it'll bring PJ. He could also shoot the three, so he can stretch the floor as well better than Gafford and Derek Lively at this point. So I think using him as a stretch four, even though he's a big, strong dude that can get inside, I think it's a really good. These are two good pickups by the Mavericks right here. This is cooking by the Mavericks. This is good. This is good. I'm excited now. I'm excited to see them. They're still in a prime position to make a push for those top 6 spots. But it's going to be a battle, and I think P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford will definitely help in that pursuit of that playoff berth. Bucks get Patrick Beverley in the deal with the Sixers. Guess who they sent out? Cameron Payne and a 2027 second-round pick. Okay, what do we do this? This is what I'm talking about. Your backup point guard is a bulldog, a dog. Cameron Payne is a cone, okay? He's a cone. I repeat, cone. All right? Cone. Defense, that's what it sounds like. Cone, okay? You get a guy like Patrick Beverley, a dog, a guy that's going to bring culture into the locker room. Now he gets to play with Dame. Now he gets to play with Giannis. Build that defensive culture with a guy like Doc Rivers. Now I'm excited to hear his podcast because now it's going to be about Giannis and Dame and stuff like that. He's probably going to go in there and be like, yo, run the pick and roll. Stop doing this he turn, my turn, her turn. Nothing. Pick and roll. Everything comes off of that with you two. I think that he should go in there and say that he has the cachet and the veteran stripes to be that vocal as a coach on the floor, if you will. I think he's going to bring a different type of level of intensity to that team defensively, tenaciousness, He's a great pickup for the playoffs. He can hit a three if you need to, go inside, hit a floater. He's gonna be a pest on any guard that you put him, well, one or two, it doesn't matter. He's gonna rip them. He's gonna be in their chest. I think this is such an underrated trade for the Bucks that this could turn their season around. This one move could turn your season around because this kind of mitigates your perimeter defense deficiency that you had with Dame and Campaign. Like, imagine you move Dame. Okay, Dame is not that good of a defender. He can hold his own, but he's not that good of a defender. Okay, but he's your starting, he's your starting guard. He's a Hall of Famer, top 75 all time. Okay, so what about my second guard? Oh, it was Campaign, Cone. Okay, well, then we're not stopping perimeter scoring at all the whole game. So what if my second guy is a pit bull and will get after anybody that's in front of him and show that tenaciousness and that defensive identity, and then that percolates throughout the team through Giannis, through Dame, Middleton, Covington, Connaughton, Bobby Portis. I think him and Bobby Portis are going to be great friends. They just seem like they have that type of intensity. I think this is a really good pickup for them. If they start winning and going on a run, look back to this trade right here. This trade is what made it happen. So very smart trade by the Bucks. And sending out Cameron Payne, you sent out a Cone to the 76ers. He's playing behind Maxey. And even then, a Cone. Like, defensively, they just got worse. But, you help yourself while taking away from a rival. So, all right. Spurs and Indiana. The Indiana Pacers get Doug McDermott, like 40+% 3-point shooter since he was at coming out of Creighton when he played with his dad. Excuse me, I hit my mic there. But good shooter for the Pacers. Another floor spacer, perfect for that type of offense. In the Buddy Hield type, younger, but in the Buddy Hield mold of I can hit threes at a high clip. I think that's what he's gonna do. And then the Spurs get a 2029 second round pick via the Clippers. So it doesn't matter. It's 2029. What are we doing? And then Marcus Morris. Yeah. I mean, Marcus Morris. What is he gonna do with the Spurs? Be a veteran. Try to coach up Victor. Try to coach up Devin Vassell. Add some defensive intensity. That's it. He's going to be a coach for Pop on the floor. That's what he's going to be. And a tough guy. But shout out to Indiana. That will really help mitigate the Buddy Hield loss because now you have Pascal, you have Tyrese, but you still have that 3-point threat that if they give him a sliver of space, it's going up and it might go in a lot. So, I think that's a good way to get younger at that position and that particular archetype, and give yourself he's an all right defender. He has some size to him, but mostly it's for the scoring side with Tyrese and Mathurin, Pascal. You want a guy that can really stretch out the floor. If they give him a sliver of space, if he can come off a screen, he could come off a down screens and pin downs and everything like that. He's a good spot up shooter. He can attack off the dribble if he's attacking a closeout and finish at the rim. He has some scoring versatility to him, but he's a 40% plus 3-point shooter, and that's what you want him for because you just sent out Buddy Hield. 76ers with it again against another rival with Boston. So Boston gets this super talented young player, Jaden Springer. And the 76ers just get a second-round pick. If I'm being honest, if I'm the 76ers, I'm doing that and laughing at myself. What am I doing sending out Jaden Springer to the Boston Celtics? What are you doing? This kid has been showing some flashes of athleticism, defensive tenacity, fight. I like that. I like that kid, man. I like that kid a lot. And going to Boston, sending him directly to the people that you're fighting for a chance to go to the championship. I just don't think it's a smart move just to get a second round pick. A second round pick? Are you serious? Like, I mean, the draft is already garbage. So what this year? So what are you gonna get in the second round? You think you're gonna pull a Draymond Green or a Jokic with this second round pick? Is that how much you believe in this second round pick? Like, come on. I don't think that was a smart move at all for the 76ers sending Jaden Springer to the Boston Celtics. I think at the Boston Celtics, he's going to come off the bench, but he's going to learn so much. He's going to thrive. They're going to teach him how to shoot the three, of course, with Peyton Pritchard and Hauser and, Derek White, everybody teaching him how to shoot threes. He can slash. He's a good defender, tenacious, has a lot of energy. I think it's a bad trade for the 76ers, honest. And if we see this kid, flourish at Boston or become even a part of that championship, of that team winning a championship this year in the playoffs, we're going to look back at this trade and be like, 76ers, what were you thinking? But maybe they needed the space for Buddy Hield. So that's also the nature of the business. Then Boston, immediately after that, and then Boston goes out and, goes trades Delano Banton, tongue twister there, for a heavily protected second round pick. Why do you want a heavily protected second round pick? For what reason do you want that? Like, you get Jaden Springer, but I guess you need to move a guard because you got Jaden Springer. So okay, let's get a heavily protected second round pick in a bad draft and send Delano Banton to the Portland Trailblazers because they'll probably learn how to use him. And he's a young player. I mean, I think he's been in the league like maybe 2 or 3 years, if not this is his second year. So I don't think it'll help the Blazers anything, but I think it was just to get rid of to open up the roster spot for Jaden Springer. The Kings land Robin Lopez from the Bucks for cash. Wow, that's it for cash. The Kings had a tall dude for the Lopez brothers break up. The Kings get a tall dude for rebounding coming off the bench for Sabonis. A guy that can, plug up the lane, put his hands up, be tall, 7-footer. So it might add to their interior presence that they currently do not have. So I think it's a good thing for the Kings. He's kind of older, but Milwaukee just getting cash. I mean, okay, I guess they needed it for the cap. They basically sold a player. The Pacers, they acquire Corey Joseph, the backup guard for the Warriors. And the Golden State gets a second-round pick. Indiana wanted Corey Joseph. He can shoot the three. He can play a little bit of point guard. He's been around the league. He's jumped around, kind of a journeyman. And Golden State with a second-round pick, I guess just keep adding to that pick litter, even though, like I said, this is a bad draft. Bad draft. We go to the Suns. The Suns get Royce O'Neal. So the shooter from in a 3-team trade with the Nets and Grizzlies. So Royce O'Neal goes from Brooklyn to the Suns. So a 3-point shooter to add to Allen and Tucker. And then they get David Roddy with a big body, 3 or 4, that can bang inside. Small, but can bang inside, can shoot the three a little bit. Brooklyn gets Jordan Goodwin, which is a young player that the Suns had that was kind of right in the bench, and Keita Bates-Diop, which was playing a lot for the Suns. But I guess they like Royce O'Neal more, that he can stretch out the floor more, which I completely understand. And then the Brooklyn gets also 3 second-round picks via Memphis. And then Memphis gets Yuta Watanabe from the Suns and Shimizu Metu, which was another player that was playing for the Suns. So, Yuta Watanabe for Memphis right now, I think it's a good influx of talent in there. I think he's going to thrive a little bit and score a little bit, especially from the three. He can shoot the three. He can crash a little bit in the glass, and, he has good energy. He's a good shooter. And then Metu can play defense. Metu is a athletic wing forward that can, muck it up on the defensive end and, be in the dunker spot and stuff like that. So overall, good trade for the Suns. They get 3-point shooting. They get a little bit more size with David Roddy. But other than that, Brooklyn ain't going nowhere with Jordan Goodwin or Keita Bates-Diop. And then Memphis is definitely not going anywhere with Yuta Watanabe or Shimizu Metu. So I think this is just for the Suns right here. And that was the last trade so far. I mean, today was the deadline. So like I said, it wasn't nothing crazy. It was not something insane this year. Especially at the trade deadline, especially from what happened last year with the Lakers and stuff like that. So, I think that potentially the best team from the draft standpoint, from the free agency standpoint, I think is the Dallas Mavericks, bro. You get Daniel Gafford, and then you pair him up with PJ Washington. I think that's good. I think that's great for what they needed. Like, that is going after what you need: interior size, interior power, basically, like interior weight and size, rebounding, especially defense and offensive. And I think that's what interior presence, and you got two of them. One that can stretch out the floor, and Gafford is a great inside center. I think those two pickups might be huge for their defense, and considering their offense is absolutely great right now, with Luka and Kyrie and Tim Hardaway Jr., and Josh Green is showing a little bit, and Jaden Hardy showing a little bit. Like, I think that they're in a good spot. Now they just have to get it rolling quick. But they're in a good spot, and I think that they came out winners, to be honest. And then, we got Terry Rozier. That was a one that we went over already, and he's showing a little bit. He's starting to get into his little bag and everything. Quickly, if we go through the NBA standings before we get to the Super Bowl, if we go through the NBA standings, this day of the trade deadline, Boston's 5 up on Cleveland. So Cleveland worked its way up all the way to 2, which is incredible. They're 9-1, won 7 in a row. Boston's 7-3. They've won 2 in a row. Milwaukee's on a little reeling. They're 5-5 in their last 10, lost 2 in a row. The Knicks are 9-1 in their last 10. They're 4th. 76ers lost yesterday. They're 8.5 back. So 2.5 back of 4 and 3, and then 2 is 5 back. So 3.5 back of Cleveland for 2. That is very, very bad for them because they have to survive. Their next schedule they go Hawks, they should win. They should. Wizards, they should win. Cavaliers is going to be a dogfight. Heat are going to be a dogfight. The Knicks is going to be a dogfight. Cavs again, Bucks, and then the Celtics. They have a rough road coming up after that Hawks and Wizards games coming up. Like, they have to survive. And Indiana is only 2 games back of them and 10.5 games back. They're 6th, and they're 5-5 and won 2 in a row. Miami, we're 7 right there, a game back of Indiana. I like what I'm seeing we're 4-6 in the last 10, so let me not hype us up. I mean, I said that our offense, our half-court offense was abysmal in last pod, and guess what? It still is. Bam is still taking turnaround jumpers from 12 feet instead of going to the rim. I don't like it, but, we won yesterday. I was happy about it. If we can get it rolling, it'd be nice. But, with us, it's like either we score or don't score. We could play defense all we want, but we're going to get outscored. That's the problem. Orlando's 12 back, so half a game back of us in 7. They're 5-5 in the last 10. Chicago is at 15 back, so 3 back of the Orlando 3.5 back of us. They're 5-5 in the last 10, and Atlanta is 17 back, so 2 back of the Chicago Bulls. So I think they'll stay around there. I don't think they're moving up with how they're 4-6 in the last 10. Brooklyn is 18.5 back, so a game and a half behind Atlanta. Toronto's 21. Charlotte's 28.5. Washington is 29.5. I mean, and then Detroit is 31.5. So like, Charlotte's lost 9 in a row. Washington's lost 4 in a row. Detroit won yesterday. That was a miracle. But they won yesterday. Now, what I see in the East, like I said before, Cleveland's 5 back. That's a lot because Boston's going to keep winning. It is what it is. Boston will keep winning. So getting that 5 game back cushion is not ideal. They're going to stay at 2, which would be good for them. They're on a 7-game winning streak, 9-1. They got Mobley back. They got Darius Garland back. Mobley shooting the 3 a little bit. Thank you. That's what we wanted. We wanted you to be a little bit more of an offensive threat along with your defensive prowess. Darius Garland's doing Darius Garland things. He hasn't gotten into his rhythm yet. But Donovan Mitchell scoring 30, 40. You don't really need Darius to do much. Merrill's shooting the shit out of the ball. So is Strus, Niang. Good team. Milwaukee, I think with that Patrick Beverly acquisition, I think that they're only a game back of 2, so they're still there, but 6 games back of 1. But with that Patrick Beverly signing, I think that'll bring something out of Damian Lillard, something out of Giannis, bring a little bit more out of that defense. So we'll see in these next few weeks what that Patrick Beverly acquisition does to that team defensively, and if it mirrors or impacts their overall record in the long run. Going on to the West, OKC is at the top, but everybody's tied. We got OKC tied, Minnesota tied, Denver tied, and late Clippers, because they lost yesterday to the New Orleans Pelicans. They're half a game back. So OKC tied, Minnesota tied, Denver tied. I told you Denver was cruising. Denver been cruising all year. They've been cruising. You know what I'm saying? They've been cruising. So I think that Denver's still the most dangerous. The most formidable, if they're healthy, is the Clippers. Because Kawhi's playing out of his mind. And everybody's kind of playing off of him. Minnesota won yesterday. Thank God, because OKC lost. So everybody's tied. Everybody's coming off of Minnesota actually lost their last one. They're 5-5, 7-3 for the OKC in their last 10, 7-3 with 2 wins in a row for Denver. So they're a little bit on a heater. Clippers lost yesterday. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Phoenix is 5 games back. 4.5 of 4. It's only a half game under 3. So it's, they're closer to the top than to Phoenix. But Phoenix, 7-3, 2 in a row. If they figure out this lineup, now Bates Diop is gone. Now it's Grayson. It's going to be Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, and the 3-point shooter they just picked. Of course. I mentioned the trade and then I forget. That's great. But no Bates Diop, no Metu, no Goodwin. So, we'll see what that trade shakes up like upcoming. New Orleans just won against the Clippers in a good win. They've won 4 in a row, 6-4. Zion's playing well. BI's playing well. CJ's playing well. Herb Jones is hitting his 3. Trey Murphy's hitting his 3. I like what I'm seeing from the Pels. They're 5 games back, so this literally they could be 5th right now. They are tied with the Phoenix Suns, and I like what I'm seeing from the Pelicans. Sacramento, 5.5 games back, half a game back from 6-5. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They lost the last 2. Maybe with this little bit of injection off the trade, maybe they get a little bit more interior presence with with Robin Lopez. They get a little bit more interior presence. Maybe finish off defensive possessions with rebounds, at least in the second unit. But we'll see. We'll see with that. Dallas is 7 back, so 2.5 games back of Sacramento. But I think that's gonna change. Even though they're 4-6 in the last 10, they've won 2 in a row. But I think that's gonna change with Gafford and PJ Washington. I think that is going to be a very, very fruitful trade for them. I'm just saying, just by the way that those two play and by what Mavericks needed, I think they went out and got the best they could in the trade deadline. Lakers are 8.5 games back. That puts them 2.5 games back of Dallas. They've won 3 in a row. They're 6-4 in the last 10. We don't know what's happening here, but we know that they're getting into the play-in. Just because the other teams are so bad that, for them to fall out the play-in, it would have to be kind of catastrophic. Utah, they just traded Ochai Agbaji and Fontecchio. They're 9.5 back. They're 4-6 in the last 10, so they've kind of fallen off a little bit. They've won their last 2. I think this has to be the Lauri Keontae George show. To be honest, just for me, just Keontae and Lauri should be the main 2 cogs in this offense. I love Colin Sexton. If you can play him with George out there and then maybe sit Chris Dunn and bring him off the bench, or I just want to see Keontae George start. This is just like Cam Whitmore. I think that he has the opportunity to be the one eventually of that team. He has the talent. He has the moxie, the demeanor. I like how he plays in crunch time. So I think him and Lauri should be the marquee players. I think my bird agrees, maybe. Then you got Golden State. They moved up to 11th. They're 10.5 games back. 1 game back of that 10th seed. 1-2 in a row, 5-5 in their last 10. Kuminga's playing great. All they need, okay? All they need is for Wiggins to wake up and Klay to be maybe 70 to 75% of himself. That's all we need. And then maybe with Curry and Kuminga, maybe this can start pulling together and we can make I'm talking about a championship run, but at least salvage the season into maybe a playoff berth in the play-in. Houston is a game back and 11.5 games back. Still going to keep saying it. Got to start Cam Whitmore. Memphis, 17 games back. They're not going nowhere. They've lost 6 in a row. Portland, 19.5 games back. They're not going nowhere. 4-6 in the last 10. And then, San Antonio, 10-41, 25 games back. Vic being Vic, essentially. But yeah, that's the NBA right now after the trade deadline. Now we get to the nitty-gritty, what we really wanted to get to. We have made it to the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. We have made it to the Super Bowl. I'm very, very excited to watch this game. I was very excited in 2019, and that was with Jimmy Garoppolo, and now we got Brock Purdy. Now we got Trent Williams. Now we got Chase Young. But if the first thing I want to say about this Super Bowl is essentially a prove-it Super Bowl for Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan mostly. Like, if I'm really speaking about here, is Kyle Shanahan. And then for the Chiefs, it's the yeah, but we still win Super Bowl. Like, it's the yeah, our season was not the greatest, but guess what? We still hoist up the Lombardi at the end of the season. It's like, yeah, here's the cement on the dynasty, and for the years to come. So this Super Bowl is essentially, if you think about it, this is Patrick Patrick Mahomes basically saying to the league, good luck for the next 10 years. 10, 15, if you think that the science is going to lead him to play till he's 40, just like Tom. But this is Mahomes saying, hey, it doesn't matter what type of team I have, what season we have. If we get into the playoffs, we are a threat. You know, the kind of like that Patriots mentality, even though they won a lot of AFC championships and a lot of division championships while they were there, of course. But for Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, this is like, finally, we made it. We proved the doubters wrong. My offense works in the biggest moments. My defense doesn't crumble. You know, I have a quarterback that can take me there. You know, that is the main two things battling here. Now we're going to break it down by unit. Okay, we're going to break it down by unit. And we're going to start with the offensive lines, the boys in the trenches, defense and offensive lines. And the very interesting thing about both of these lines is that they both got all pros. They both have guys that are absolute cornerstones to these teams. But if I'm talking about a whole group, anybody with Trent Williams on there is gonna, and they're healthy. Allegretti already got ruled out for the Super Bowl. Joe Thuney got, so Allegretti is gonna be the starting guard for the Chiefs. He played well against Baltimore, and that was a really good defense. So I'm not worried. But you know, when you look at both units, what they bring, how they're constructed, and just what they do for each team, I'm going to give the edge to the 49ers because of Trent Williams. We haven't seen him pull this year. He might pull in the Super Bowl. Who knows? Kyle Shanahan and the genius. The way he schemes that run game, the way those guys block, I give the edge to the offensive line to the 49ers. Defensive line, now that doesn't mean that I am sleeping on the Kansas City offensive line. No, absolutely not. You know, they haven't gotten penalized nearly as much like Jawaan Taylor and Donovan Smith and everything. They haven't gotten penalized nearly as much as they did during the season. But I think there's still a propensity for Jawaan Taylor maybe to line up bad or have a false start in a big spot or hold. Especially the edges, you know, Donovan Smith and Jawaan Taylor. I'm not worried about Creed Humphrey that much, to be honest. But at the same time, this is a very good offensive line. Creed Humphrey is one of the best, you know, top 3 centers in the league. You know, you always got to put Kelsey up there. You know, he's the legend. You know, but, you know, I think that Creed Humphrey has definitely put his stamp on that number 2 spot over the last few years, especially with the rings. And, you know, this is a very good schemed up offense as well, blocking scheme-wise by Andy Reid. So I think that it's not by a lot, but Trent Williams is a big factor and health. And I think that even with Joe Thuney, they would still be second, but especially without Joe Thuney, I'm going to give it to the 49ers. Defensive lines. So common knowledge would be 49ers. Hargrave, Armstead, Young, Bosa. Yes, absolutely. But let's look at the other side. You know, I mean, yeah, you could say Nadi, okay. You know, you got Karlaftis, all right. But the big guy, Chris Jones, is so dominant and could be such a game wrecker. Like, he could be such a game wrecker. And he wrecked their game when they had Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019. He made it like this in the fourth quarter because Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't get that ball off to Emmanuel Sanders, you know, on time and on target because he got rushed by Chris Jones. You know, and he is such a difference maker at the line because he can stuff the run and be an outside pass rusher. He's unstoppable. It's not like you're going to stop him. You can try to mitigate him, and I don't think he'll line up against Trent. So it's going to be the other side. And that'll be very interesting. Even in the middle, I think that he'll have the advantage. But when you look at defensive lines, when you talk about, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Chase Young, like when you speak about like that, it's the 49ers. And again, it's not just the names. It's what that defense has done this year. Have they given up a little bit on the run? Yes. Do I expect Steve Wilks to kind of tighten that up a little bit? Yes. And then they could rush the passer as better than anybody. You are rushing Pat Mahomes, so do it at your own risk. But overall, I'm going to give it to the 49ers just because, like, too many difference makers to Kansas City's one. Like, you got Nick Bosa could be an absolute game wrecker. Javon Hargrave could absolutely wreck the game inside. Chase Young could wake up. Eric Armstead could dominate inside. So you have a lot on the 49ers that they can play with. And then on the Chiefs, like, you got Chris Jones and then Karlaftis and Nadi, many who tore his ACL. That's a big loss, at least on the edge. So, I'm going to give it to the 49ers. Linebacking cores. Again, I love Nick Bolton. Okay. I love Nick Bolton. But when you're talking about linebackers, you're facing the best linebacking core in the league. You're facing the best linebacker in Fred Warner. I think he's better than Roquan, personally. And then his number 2, Dre Greenlaw, is no pushover. He's the Terrell Suggs. He's like a Joey Porter. I think that they're the best linebacking core in the league, the best duo, the best tandem. And then Al-Shaair is not no slouch either. They run fit really well. They run downhill. They hit hard, smart, can pick, can cover. Fred is a freak. Fred is an absolute freak. And so is Dre Greenlaw, and they're dogs. They're dogs. I love Bolton. I don't know if the other kid, his name is slipping my name right now. The other young linebacker, I don't know if he's going to be healthy. He wasn't healthy for the Baltimore game. It didn't stop them. But, if he is healthy, I still think that when you got a 3-time All-Pro on your linebacking core, and the guy that's considered the number 1 linebacker for the last 2-3 years in the league, I think that gives you the advantage of the linebacking core, personally. Secondary is where it gets interesting. Secondary, we have Charvarius Ward, Lenore, Nat Ufanga, Deshaun Gibson Jr., and I forgot the second safety. But if I were to pick, I'm going to go Kansas City. Love McDuffie. Love L'Jarius. I think Cook is back there. And I love Justin Reed. I just think that they're a younger, better group. They've been more consistent. They're very sticky, very, very sticky. Not that Mooney's Charvarius Ward, that is his nickname. Not that Mooney's not sticky or Lenore, but McDuffie, All-Pro, L'Jarius Sneed, basically an All-Pro, one of the best corners in the last few years that people don't talk about. So secondary-wise, I'm going to give it to the Chiefs. I think that's where the difference in the passing game will be. And it's going to come down to tackling with Debo, and can they bring down Ayuk, and can they bring down Kittle when he gets the ball, CMC, Jawan Jennings. Like, that's going to be the key. Even Juszczyk. But when you look at just overall talent and ability, I am going to give it to the Kansas City Chiefs and Spags, of course. but we'll get to the coaching a little bit later. Let's go on the offensive side. Let's look at the running backs. I don't think it's much of a competition there. I think CMC is the best running back in this game and possibly the best player in this game, not counting Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a hard thing to deal with, the versatility of CMC. You know, seeing him line up outside as the X receiver, having him in bunches, always in motion. You know, it's going to be very difficult deciphering, and executing the defense to not stop him, but limit him enough that, you know, that offense is kind of bogged down because everything runs through him. But at the end of the day, CMC, he's going to slip a tackle. He's going to make a cut. Like, he's going to get you a big run on you. You just have to mitigate how long that run is and if it's a touchdown. But he can take over a game. And looking at the other side in Isaiah Pacheco, you know, it's not that he can't take over a game, because he certainly can, but against that defensive front, although that I know they're going to try to run the ball, and he runs hard. He reminds me of Marshawn Lynch, the way he runs, his style. I think that overall, the receiving aspect of CMC puts the 49ers over in the rushing department when it comes to the running backs. And even when you go to the backups, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Elijah Mitchell, I mean, they're pretty even. In my opinion, Elijah Mitchell has had a little bit more success when it comes to like actual on-field stats than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire has contributed to championships. So, you know, if you go CMC and Pacheco, I'm going CMC. Am I going by a lot? I have to, because unless Pacheco in this game receives for more than 50 yards and six receptions, you're not making that up in the rushing department with Pacheco alone. So I'm going to give it to CMC and the 49ers. Receivers. Let's look across the board, okay? Across the board, you got George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, CMC, and Juszczyk. Okay? On the other side, Sky Moore, I believe he's available now. Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. I don't know about Kadarius Toney. Jalen Watson, MVS, and maybe, you know, Jerick McKinnon is active again. Noah Gray, you know, the other scatters. Now let's look across the board. I think that overall, it goes to the 49ers. Now, I love Travis. I love Travis Kelce. Love 87, okay? Love him. He is my GOAT tight end, period. There's no discussion. I don't want to hear about Gronk. I don't want to hear about Shannon Sharp. I don't want to hear about Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates. You know, you want to bring in Kellen Winslow Sr. Don't care. Travis Kelce. Okay? That's my GOAT tight end, ever. Rashee Rice is a rookie. Never been at that stage before. Sky Moore, second year. Was on that stage last year. Is coming off an injury, but caught a touchdown last year. Kadarius Toney, don't know what he's going to. He caught a touchdown last year too and had that big punt return that basically iced the game. Okay? But when I look overall, and you just look at talent and just what you see on the field, it's the 49ers. 1,300-yard receiver in Brandon Ayuk. A multiple-time 1,000-yard receiver in Deebo, especially in Yak. Multiple-time 1,000-yard receiver also in the, you know, tight end Mount Rushmore, if you will, in George Kittle. Multiple-time 1,000-yard receiver in CMC as a running back. Juszczyk has caught balls, big balls. Pause. I was not supposed to be said that way. He's caught some big passes in the past. Jauan Jennings has caught some big passes in the past. The big target. Okay? So overall, I'm going to give it to the 49ers. Now, most unstoppable weapon, I think it's still Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce still instills absolute fear into any defense, regardless if they're focusing on taking him away or not. Because of the improvisation, because of the feel that he has with Patrick Mahomes, because his routes are not the paper routes that people draw up like, oh, we're running smash. Well, no. My route's probably going to lean a little bit inside, and based on the leverage, I'm going to bend it right here and sit. You don't know that. Only him and Pat know that, and it's not even spoken, So I think that the most terrifying weapon on the field still for either defense, instead of Debo, it's between Debo, CMC, and Travis, and I think it's Travis. I still think it's Travis just because, you don't know what he's going to do. And I think he'll be a big part of this game. So I'm going to give it to the 49ers, but the number one weapon is Travis Kelce. Number two, CMC. X-Factor player for each team. X-Factor player. Rashee Rice. You could say you could say two people for Kansas City. Because Kelce is a factor, period. Not an X-Factor. X-Factor is somebody you wouldn't think about. So you could say Rashee Rice, he's the number one receiver. But most people say Isaiah Pacheco because the running game is going to be so important. Now, I would say Isaiah Pacheco, but since I know that they're going to run the ball, the production from Rashee Rice is going to be the important factor to me. You can go either way. I wouldn't be mad. I think that Isaiah Pacheco is a big, big part of the X factor as well. But for me, it's Rashee Rice. It's what he can do with Yak, what he can do with screens, how he can get first downs if Kelce's not open, how he can help Pat, that, and how he deals with the moment. If Rashee Rice has a big game, Kansas City has a very good chance of winning this game. Because if Rashee Rice has a good game, that means Travis Kelce is either not having a good game or having a great game. Because they're going to try to stop Rashee, and you know what happens as soon as you take away any attention away from 87. He gets found a lot. So, like I said, X factor for me, Rashee Rice. X factor for the Niners, believe it or not, Deebo Samuel. I don't care what anybody says. This offense, although it runs through CMC, I already know CMC's getting touches. It's not really an X factor for me. I already know CMC's getting touches. Deebo's touches are the ones that could turn into explosive plays out of nowhere. A screen, a slant, missed tackle, a jet sweep, something like that. I know CMC's going to get those plays. I know we're going to see a jet sweep with CMC. I know that we're going to see a counter. I know that we're going to see a zone. I know that CMC is going to get 25, 30 touches this game. 20, at least 20 to 25. That would be the range that I think he would touch the ball, whether it's passing or receiving. I know that he's going out for routes. I know that he's going to have opportunity. Deebo's opportunities, if the Kansas City Chiefs wants to limit this offense, that's the person you got to limit. Now, other people might go a little bit more obscure and go say George Kittle. And I would be inclined to say that as well. George Kittle is also an X factor. But when you look at the guy that makes the most explosive plays based off of broken plays or plays that shouldn't gain as much as they should, is Deebo. Now, you might say Ayuk, but then again, when Deebo's on the field, Ayuk he's the number one receiver, but Deebo's getting looked for. I love Ayuk. I loved him out of college, out of Arizona State. But at the same time, I think Deebo, even though he's such a stellar part and such an integral part of that offense, I think that his production is what's going to be most important. Based on his touches and his production, this game can swing one or two ways because his touches come in very particular spots. 3rd and 2, jet sweep. You know, you got, maybe you got a 2nd and 5, or you got a 2nd and 3 off a run off a CMC. Boom, post route, screen pass, anything to get them the ball, And in the red zone, we're going to see some wacky plays from both of these coaches, but we'll get to that. So X factor for me is Debo. Let's go a little bit more over the top. Let's go a little bit more 30,000-foot view. Let's go coaching. I'll save the quarterbacks for the end. We all know who I'm siding with, but I'll explain it anyway. Coaching. This is all Chiefs coaching wise. All Chiefs. When you look at the coaching staffs, it is a Hall of Fame, first ballot legendary coaching staff against a coaching staff that's still trying, really good, but really still trying to prove themselves in the 49ers. First ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, Andy Reid, head coach. First ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest defensive minds of all time and defensive play callers of all time, Steve Spagnuolo. You got Matt Nagy as your offensive coordinator, helping Andy Reid. On the other side, you got Kyle Shanahan, genius play caller, but still living under that dad's shadow, still trying to get his Lombardi. Steve Wilkes got ran out of Carolina, still trying to prove himself. You get what I'm saying? The other side has already proven themselves. This is just adding to the mantle. This is to get to Canton and just be like, I'm that guy. Okay? So overall coaching, without a doubt, goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a possibility that in this game, Kyle Shanahan gets out-schemed, out-coached, and outplayed on the field. There's a possibility that all three of those happen. Because it's possible for Spags to out-scheme you defensively against your offense. It's possible for you to get out-coached by Andy Reid. And it's possible for Patrick Mahomes and that offense to outplay you and that defense to outplay your offense. Definitely possible. Now, will it happen? We'll see. But based on the caliber of matchups at every position level in coaching, head coach, offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, offensive coordinator, and Andy Reid being the cog that stirs it all, I think it's just more of a strength for Kansas City. Been there, done that. Veterans, know what it takes, knows the stage, knows the environment, not going to get too high, not going to get too low. Now, Andy might go crazy with some play calls. He did it a lot. He does it every year. Every year he goes nutty, okay? Sometimes he leaves us thinking like, what's that? Sometimes he plays a bad joke on us and scores a touchdown on a crazy play. But that's Andy. Now, Kyle, on the other hand, he can get a little with play calling, with clock management in the fourth quarter. That's going to be a big, in the end of the half and fourth quarter. Is he going to use his timeouts? Is he not? Does he burn his timeouts early? Does he save 5 yards here to try to, save a drive? Like, does he take 3 here? Does he go for fourth downs? That's going to be the chess game that he's going to play with Andy Reid. And Andy Reid is more adept at playing that game than him over the years and what I've seen over the years from Kyle Shanahan. So I give the edge to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, let's move into the quarterbacks. It's Patrick Mahomes. Okay? This is the new GOAT. Okay? But that doesn't mean that Brock Purdy's some Joe Schmo. No, he's not. Okay, the slander has to stop. This kid, 2 years. That's it. Not even 2 years. A year and a half. Because he started week 10 last year. A year and a half. 2 NFC championship games. Now a Super Bowl. So I don't think the stage will be too big for him. I don't think so. I think that Patrick Mahomes will be too good for him, too big for him. And what I mean by that is you're facing a guy who at 27 years old, now 28, I believe, has already a Hall of Fame resume in 6 years. You're facing a guy that you could look at your defense and be like, yeah, we're pretty good. We are pretty good. And he can still cook you and rip your heart out your chest with a smile on his face, with a coolness. Been there, done that. This is business. A demeanor that just, screams, I'm here. Come and get me. Try to get through me. And for any young quarterback, that would be tough in the Super Bowl. And in the game that this guy has made routine for himself, 4 out of his first 6 years starting, his home is basically his home. First Vegas Super Bowl ever. You don't think he wants to win this? You don't think he wants to set the stamp on the dynasty? That's what you're facing. For Pat, listen. Pat knows what he's getting himself. Knows what this is. Pat knows the magnitude. Pat understands what this means for his chase of Brady. He needs this one. He let one get away because he didn't have the offensive line and his leg was, half swollen against Tampa in Brady's last Super Bowl. But I think that Pat just wants it, man. I think Pat, ultimate competitor, Jordan, Kobe, Tiger Woods mentality of just I am a killer. I'm here to kill you. I'm an assassin, and regardless if he's down in the fourth quarter, he's done it before against the team. And that's why I say the Chiefs have the overall advantage because they've done it before against most of that whole staff, including the head coach, including the star players except Brock. Everybody else was there. Debo was there. Kittle was there. Trent wasn't there. That might be a big factor. But Nick Bosa was there. So was Eric Armstead. So was Fred Warner. All of them were there. So overall, I think that Mahomes, Kelsey, Reed, they all have a mental edge over this team. And I think that ultimately that's what's going to lead to them winning. Now, I see a very close game. This is not a blowout, guys. This is not Broncos Seattle, okay, where it was a blowout at halftime. This is going to be a dogfight. A dogfight. Going down to the end. If this goes to the last possession, I will not be surprised. Just like last year. Would not be surprised if this goes to the last possession. If this goes to overtime, would not be surprised. But when you are still counting out as the world, because the line is -1.5 in favor of the 49ers, when you give that much fire, that much motivation that is not even needed, that much stroking of the flame to Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid, that whole team, Chris Jones, they're going to come out and bite your heads off. That's what they're here for. And I'm sorry for Kyle Shanahan. I'm really sorry for CMC. Really sorry for Trent Williams. But you're facing the best duo of all time. In the playoffs, definitely. And you're facing one of the best coaches of all time. You're facing the dynasty. And you're facing them in the game to put a capstone on that dynasty. To put the third Lombardi in 6 years up. And become an actual dynasty in history. I'm going Chiefs. Regardless of what anybody says, I'm going Chiefs. As soon as they won against the Ravens, I said that whoever gets out of this game was going to be your Super Bowl champ. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo going for 3 chips in 6 years and back-to-back for the first time since Tom Brady and the Patriots did it over 20 years ago. Almost 2024, 2004, 2003. Yeah, almost 20 years ago. So that's it. I'm going Kansas City. I love the 49ers. Love them. They've been basically the best team in football all year. Maybe, the lull with Trent Williams, Debo out, okay, whatever. But overall, just like the Ravens, they were the best team in football all year. But you're facing the team that was said to be not as good, was said to be they have problems, they drop balls, they got too many penalties. And guess what? Back in the big game. First time in Las Vegas. Travis Kelce said, I want to win it because it's the first one in Las Vegas. This is going to be remembered. This is going to be the first one of many in Vegas. I want to have the first one. That type of mentality, that's a championship mentality. When you already have 2 chips already in your mantle. And honestly, Mahomes just wants to stack rings. He's chasing Brady. He knows that. He's been known that. He's been known that he's chasing Brady. He talks about it. I think he's the first player ever. Now, Brady was still playing when most of the players that were trying to chase him were playing. So this is the first player of the generation after Brady. He played against him a few times, lost a Super Bowl to him, but the first one that is legitimately sight set on chasing down Tom for the greatest of all time and the most Super Bowls. And I think he has a shot to do it. And he has to get this 3rd ring, and I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to be a Super Bowl MVP. That makes 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 Super Bowls. Back to back. I mean, what else do you want? When it comes to Rushmore, he's already there. And with this, it's just like, maybe puts him second over Montana, but I think he needs a 4th since Montana never lost. But puts him at number 3 for sure. I don't think it's a debate if he wins this one. For Brock, this would be amazing for him. Last pick in the draft. Came in week 10 last year, went on a wonderful run, tears his UCL, Tommy John, comes back, got to prove it again, does it again, damn near MVP. And to win it, to bring Trent Williams his first, Debo his first, George Kittle his first, Kyle Shanahan his first, Nick Bosa his first, Fred Warner. Yeah, it'd be big. Really big. Really big. But I don't think that with Mahomes in his way, I don't think it's going to happen. And that doesn't mean that he's bad. That doesn't mean he's going to play bad. Not at all. Not at all. But I think Spags is going to have that defense playing absolutely incredible. And they've played incredible, especially these last 3 postseason games. They have not allowed points in the second half, I believe, in any of them. Or more than 10 points in the second half. Something like that. Like something crazy. Really good defense. There's going to be adjustments back and forth, but I expect Andy Reid to be ahead. Big plays are going to happen. Busted coverages might happen. Big running plays might happen. Missed assignments. Penalties. Picks. Fumbles. Safeties. Kick returns. Punt returns. It's the Super Bowl, baby. Anything can happen. We've seen it before. So I'm going with Kansas City. Overall. Not just because I'm a big fan, not just because I'm a big fan of Mahomes, because I believe Kansas City's the most prepared team out of these 2. The most ready for this. Yes, they have 2, but guess what? They won another one. And they made it here. So they're going to fight for it. And Shanahan is going to have to beat Andy Reid. And I just don't see it happening. But I'm going to go Kansas City. Close game. If I would give it a score, I'm going to go 28-24 Kansas City. Fourth quarter score for Kansas City puts it away. I'm going to say that. 28-24. We go Kansas City. We've had a hell of a season. Next week, we'll talk about the Daytona 500. We'll talk about if any Formula One news comes out. We'll talk about how the NBA is doing after the trade deadline, after we see some of these players. Actually, no, because I think All-Star break is very soon, so we'll see about that. We'll start talking free agency, draft. This would start picking up. Combine is around the corner. So we're going to get cooking over here. We'll talk about a little baseball. But we're going to get cooking over here. March Madness is around the corner as well. So I love you guys. Thank you. Like and subscribe. Turn that notification bell, so you get notified whenever I drop a video. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support. And I leave you with the outro.
El exec,